few dim bulbs in the prison corridor cast long, dancing shadows deep into the night. Lying on my bunk, hands behind my head, I was wide awake. Sleep was the last thing on my mind. Instead, my brain was trapped in a maze of memories I desperately wanted to erase. Then footsteps. I started counting. 7, 8, 9, 10. Right on cue, he appeared. The guard, his face as stony and expressionless as everyone else's in this place. He was just making his rounds, not looking for conversation. It didn't matter if he saw me. He was there, and I was here. Once he was out of sight, I stopped counting. What was the point? He wouldn't be back for another 92 minutes. I stared at the ceiling, plotting my freedom. 5 more days, and I'd be out of this hellhole for good. 7 months down of a 1-year sentence. My job was waiting for me, but everything else was irrevocably broken. My older brother Gary had fixed my car, looked after my house, and managed my dwindling savings. Was I angry? Anger didn't even begin to cover it, but I'd buried those feelings until my release. I finally understood why guys doing 10 or 20 years came out as empty shells. You check your humanity at the door when you arrive. Survival is the only game here, and this place was a resort compared to the harsh prison up north. I closed my eyes again, hoping to steal a few hours of sleep. I missed my old bedroom with its blackout curtains, but I knew life would never be the same. "I'll pick you up next Tuesday," Gary had said during our last visit at the visitor center, the phone pressed to his ear as we looked at each other through the glass, both hoping it was for the last time. "What do you want to eat on your first night out? A steak? A big, juicy, medium-rare steak?" Gary had grinned. "Steve, you're so predictable. I thought you'd ask for something trickier to sneak past my wife. You'll stay with me and Andy until you get back on your feet. Your house is empty, no food, barely any furniture." He'd smiled. I hadn't. "Thanks," I'd started, but he cut me off. "Forget it. We're family. That's what family does. Don't worry about Mom and Dad. They'll come around once the dust settles." But we both knew that wouldn't be any time soon. Emotions were running too high on all sides. Seen the kids lately? They were at Mom and Dad's over the weekend. Heather looks the same, but John has that ridiculous broccoli haircut that's all the rage now. Looks awful. I told him so. You know what he said? He said I'm not his dad, and he doesn't have to listen to me. I would have tanned his hide, but Mom was right there. You're gonna have your hands full with that one. John would never have dared say that to me, even though I am his father. Both he and his sister would be staying with their mother after my release. I had time. Plenty of it. Once I was out, I'd wait for the right moment. No rush. Even after the divorce, I still owned half the house. Kathy owed me about $65,000 to buy out my share. She'd probably cleaned out our safe deposit box, taking all the bonds and securities. Luckily, I'd given my lawyer a full inventory of its contents beforehand, so there would be no dispute upon my release, and release was close. Kathy and my former best friend Bob had really set me up, but that was all in the past. They'd caught me off guard the first time, but they wouldn't get a second chance. I waited. I remembered. I looked forward to the day I'd finally be out of this hole. Only then could I start picking up the pieces. I just hoped I had the strength to hold on until then. Before prison, life seemed perfect, only because I didn't see the knife coming for my back. For weeks beforehand, some friends had hinted they knew what was going on, but never said a word. What were they thinking? That I knew and was okay with it? Everyone probably knew. I would never have tolerated it. But people didn't want to get involved. And we had a great marriage, or so I thought. 12 years, 2 kids, a nice house, good jobs. Sure, we had our minor squabbles, but I loved my wife and could never have imagined what she was capable of. We didn't have many friends, a few couples from the neighborhood. Most had been married for about 7 years, same as us. Everyone had at least 2 kids, except for Bob and his wife, Connie. They were always trying for a baby, but with no success. Kathy probably knew the reason, but I tried not to pry. Connie had started drinking heavily about a year ago. At first, she was just melancholy, but it had gotten bad. Bob hardly drank at all, always taking care of her. "Bob, honey, get me another one," she'd start. By the end of the night, she'd be demanding drinks, and Bob would have to carry her home. It was sad, but it was his problem, not mine. Connie was a nightmare tonight, I said, getting ready for bed. I think she blacked out more than once. Greg and Judy probably left early because she started taking her clothes off and asked Greg to help her. Nobody let her near the pool. I feel sorry for Bob, my wife said. Connie's desperate because she can't have kids, but taking it out on Bob isn't the answer. I told her they could adopt, but she wouldn't hear of it. She blamed Bob for their problems. Either they'll work it out or get a divorce, I said. We should go out for dinner next week. I hope she can behave herself for one night, but I'm not counting on it. I'll talk to her this week. Maybe she'll calm down for one evening, my wife said, trying to be optimistic. Connie did not calm down. Waiter, how's a girl supposed to get a drink around here? She slurred. She was on Bob's case again, and he was about to explode when I stepped in. Come on, Connie, you promised me a dance, I said, leading her to the dance floor. She tried to refuse, but I insisted. I danced with her for 3 songs while my wife talked to a miserable-looking Bob. When we were near the hallway, Connie excused herself and headed for the ladies' room. After 5 minutes, I was wondering what to do. I asked 2 women heading in to check on Connie. The news wasn't good. Is she in a bright yellow dress? One of the women asked, peeking out from the restroom. When I nodded, she shook her head. She's passed out in a stall. I can stand guard while you get her if you want. I went in, picked her up, and propped her against the sink, splashing cold water on her face. It helped for a second, but then she went limp again. I practically had to carry her back to our table. Bob, let me help you get Connie to the car. She's out cold and won't be coming around anytime soon. I stood there holding a drunk Connie. Bob looked embarrassed and furious. Steve, I've got it. Sit down. It's not the first time, but it's the last. Despite his protests, I carried her out while he grabbed her purse and said his goodbyes. I laid Connie on the back seat and clapped Bob on the back. Sorry, buddy. What else could I say? Thanks for the help. I just don't know what to do anymore. You guys need counseling. You can't figure this out on your own. If you need support, call me and Kathy. We'll help however we can. Okay, he replied, though I knew it was empty words. Their problems seemed too deep to fix. I gave them a couple of months, tops. I wasn't far off, but nobody expected the finale. 3 weeks later, on a Thursday just after 10:30 p.m., we heard sirens and saw flashing lights at the end of our block. Everyone ran outside to see what was happening. Kathy, stay here, I'll find out, I said and joined the crowd. I saw rescue workers prying open the door of Bob's car. What happened? Is Bob okay? It's not Bob, it's Connie. They had a fight. She grabbed his keys, ran out, and tore off down the street. Didn't get far. Connie had hit a parked car at about 40 miles per hour. An ambulance arrived, loaded her onto a stretcher, and took off with Bob. Their front door was wide open, lights on, the house a mess. I called Kathy, told her what happened, then locked up Bob's house, leaving a note that I had the keys. How's Connie? My wife asked when I got back. Not good. She wasn't wearing a seatbelt and swerved at the last second. The airbag deployed, but she hit her head on the side window hard enough to shatter it. She was going about 35. Bob's with her at the hospital. Should we wait? Go there? He's got enough on his plate. Let's go tomorrow when things settle down. For now, let's sleep. Tomorrow came quickly. We kissed goodnight but barely slept, worried about Connie. The next morning at 11 high, my phone rang. Steve, Connie's on life support, my wife screamed. I'm leaving work. Bob's a wreck. Someone needs to be there. Meet me at the hospital, she said frantically before hanging up. Damn. The guy just couldn't catch a break. On the way, I picked up lunch for 3 and called Kathy's parents to get the kids after school. I quietly entered the waiting room where my wife and others were comforting Bob. How is she? I asked. Not good, my wife whispered. The doctor spoke with Bob and he's barely said a word since. Bob, I said, sitting next to him. You okay? A stupid question, but I had to start somewhere. Steve, she's not getting better. Almost no brain activity. I don't know what to do. He started to cry. I gestured for everyone else to give us a moment. Has anyone told Connie's parents? They're on their way. Steve, The hospital staff keeps asking about a will and a donor card. It's like vultures circling. The doctor asked if I'd consider turning off the machines if she's brain dead. For God's sake, she's my wife, not a piece of meat. He was shouting now. Why can't they just fix her? They're doctors. Can't they fix her? I had no answer. Connie's parents arrived soon after and went with Bob to her room. Loud sobs and yelling followed. Her father seemed to blame Bob for Connie's condition. A doctor went in, and about 20 minutes later, everyone came out. Her parents left heartbroken, knowing they'd never speak to their daughter again. We left the hospital around 8 p.m. and picked up the kids from Kathy's parents. I couldn't stop thinking, God, I hope I never have to make that choice. 48 hours later, in a room with Bob, Connie's parents, and a doctor, they turned off the machines keeping her alive. She slipped away quietly. We comforted Bob as best we could. Despite her difficult behavior, Bob had truly loved her. Funerals have a way of bringing out only the good memories, not the bad. The funeral was packed, and everyone cried. Bob took it hard, eventually taking a month off to visit his family back east. I assured him I'd look after his house. I love you, you know that? I said to my wife as we got ready for bed. The last few weeks had been draining and life was slowly returning to normal. If I'm ever in Connie's position, just pull the plug. I don't want to be kept alive by machines. Steve, don't say that. That would never happen to us. Bob returned a few weeks later, more or less put back together. Kathy helped him sort through Connie's things. After 3 months, he seemed to be coming to terms with the loss. We tried to include him in social events. The neighbors even set him up on a few dates, but nothing stuck. Life went on. Or so I thought. After 6 months, Bob seemed to be enjoying life again. Seeing him smile and start to have fun was a relief. He was social, and our old Bob was back. Looking back, maybe I missed some signs. Kathy and I were still close, but something was off. We were as physically intimate as before, but something had changed. After a couple of months, I asked Kathy if something was bothering her. Nothing, Steve. Why do you ask? You've been distant lately. It's fine, she smiled. Maybe you just need more affection? If you want more, just ask. Affection? She'd never called it that before. It was always making love. I smiled, kissed her, and pushed the thought away. I'll never forget Friday, August 20th. It was the day my world came crashing down. Kathy called me at work, said the kids would be at her parents' for the weekend, and asked what time I'd be home. I'll try to leave early. Need me to pick anything up? No, just let me know when you're on your way. Okay. A million thoughts raced through my head. It was 3:30 p.m., an hour and a half before I could leave. I adjusted my pants, thinking about a fun weekend. I drove home carefully to avoid a speeding ticket, but still made it in 28 minutes. I should have been suspicious when I saw 2 cars in the driveway, but one of them was Bob's. Hi, honey, I'm home, I called out. Bob and Kathy were in the kitchen. Hey, Bob, what's up? Steve, I need to talk to you. Please, sit down. Kathy looked nervous, her voice trembling. I'll stand, I said. Steve, I wanted to tell you myself before you got the papers. I was confused. Kathy, what papers? She stepped back. The divorce papers, she barely managed to say. My heart skipped a beat. Kathy, what are you talking about? What divorce papers? Steve, Bob started, but I cut him off. Bob, stay out of this. This is between me and my wife. Then it hit me. I looked at her, then at him, then back at her. Bob, you'd better leave. Now. My hands clenched into fists. Kathy, you and I need to talk. Now, I yelled. Bob, stay, my wife said. Steve, this involves him too. Bob, get out now, or you'll be carried out of here in a body bag, I warned. He headed for the door. Kathy, we need to talk. Steve, we have nothing to talk about. I love Bob. I'm sorry. You bitch! How long has this been going on? Since before Connie died. Bob stopped, his eyes blazing with anger. Steve, you don't know anything. Oh, I know enough. While I was comforting you, you were screwing my wife. Get out of my house, both of you. Steve, this is my house too, Kathy said. Not anymore. Get out. I'll get my things and go. No, leave now. "Kathy, let's go," Bob said, leading her to the door. "Listen to him," I sneered. "Steve, I'll be back for my things when you've cooled down." "You'll be dead by then," I spat. They left, not taking their eyes off me. After they were gone, I lost it. 2 beers and a lot of destruction later, the house was in chaos. I threw all of Kathy's things on the lawn and set the sprinklers for 4 hours. Then I locked up the house and drank until I passed out. The next morning, I saw that Kathy had taken her things. I was still furious and crushed. I didn't call anyone to talk about it, but I assumed the neighbors knew. I called Kathy's parents to speak to the kids, but her mom wouldn't let me. "Steve, Kathy picked them up last night." "Bullshit, Fran. She was picking up her stuff from the lawn. Let me talk to my kids." She hung up. I called back, but she didn't answer. Furious, I canceled all our credit cards and withdrew all the cash I could from the bank. I made coffee, ate some toast, and planned my day. Change the garage code, install new locks, and move anything valuable to my brother's house. Just as I was about to leave, the doorbell interrupted me. I looked through the peephole and saw a man with a large envelope. He waited a few minutes and left. I told my brother Gary and his wife Andy what had happened and asked them to keep it quiet. Then I headed to Home Depot for new locks. When I returned, I saw Bob's car in the driveway and Kathy loading it up. I should have driven away, but I was too angry for that. Instead of driving off, I sped up with a screech of tires, turned into my driveway, and rammed the back of Bob's car. Bob had just jumped into his car at the moment of impact, my car pinning his against the closed garage door. I reversed about 15 feet and slammed the accelerator again, smashing his car into the garage door. Steam poured from under the hood, and the engine made a terrible sound, but I reversed again. I backed up 10 feet, floored it, but my car only shoved Bob's a few more feet before stalling. My heart was pounding. I grabbed my son's aluminum bat from the garage and started swinging, smashing the driver's side window and the windshield. I was about to open Bob's door when I heard loud voices behind me. "Drop the bat and put your hands on your head," a cop commanded. I complied, dropping to my knees. They cuffed me and put me in the patrol car. Bob, shaken and scared, climbed out of his car. I wanted to threaten him, but I couldn't. My wife was crying, talking to the police and looking at me. I smiled back at her. At the station, they processed me and allowed me one call. I called my brother Gary. Since it was the weekend, I spent 2 nights in jail before facing the judge on Monday. I pleaded not guilty, and the judge set bail. Gary posted it late that evening. "Steve, they're talking attempted murder, or at least assault with a deadly weapon." "I know. First, take me to the bank. She's probably cleaned out the accounts, but I need to check." The cash from our accounts was gone, but not the securities and bonds. However, a court order prevented me from touching them. "You could have left me at least $5 in the account. You really are petty," I said to Kathy when she answered the phone. "I needed that money for me and the kids. Doesn't Bob make enough? I have to pay for the house. Maybe I'll just set a little fire in the living room, to keep warm." "Steve, stop talking nonsense. I'm sorry it came to this, but you're making it worse. Why can't you just accept it and move on? I'll move on when you bring my children home." "Steve, I can't. Especially not in your current state. I don't think you'd hurt them, but I can't take the risk. When all this is over, I'll let you see them as much as you want. But I can't say the same for you and Bob. This is the last time I'm speaking to you. From now on, you'll have to talk to my lawyer. I'm sorry it turned out this way." "Kathy, you have no idea how sorry you and Bob are going to be." She hung up. In court, my lawyer pleaded temporary insanity, arguing my actions were impulsive after Kathy's revelation. Kathy and Bob claimed they feared for their lives and mentioned a restraining order. "Mr. Moore," the judge said, "did you tell Mr. Kelly that if he didn't leave, he'd be carried out in a body bag?" "I don't remember my exact words, Your Honor. Something like that, maybe. But how would you feel if your friend was with your wife behind your back?" The judge was unimpressed, and my lawyer quietly scolded me. "Steve, don't say a word. Got it? From now on, you don't remember anything. Is that clear? I'm trying to prove you didn't know what you were doing, and your comments aren't helping." He was right. Chris, my boss and a key character witness, fully supported me. He testified that I was a model employee who never lost his temper. After his testimony, the hearing closed. We waited for the judge's decision, which would come in a few days. Back at work, my boss suggested hiring some thugs to make Bob and Kathy disappear. I declined, preferring to handle it my way. I wondered how much a service like that would cost. 6 months and $112,000 later, I'd been played for a fool by both my ex-wife and the system. The divorce was final, and she got 50% of everything. The house and all valuable items were to be sold. She claimed her jewelry was missing and accused me of stealing it. I countered that mine was missing too, hinting she'd taken everything. "He's going to jail? Are they insane?" I yelled at my lawyer after the judge's sentence. "Steve, it could have been worse. You could have killed him and faced a manslaughter charge. With good behavior, you'll be out in less than 8 months and your record will be clean in 2 years. Serve your time, get out, and move on." Easy for him to say. I wasn't looking forward to 24/7 in prison. I appealed, but it was no use. In 1 year, my life had gone from perfect to hell, thanks to Kathy and Bob. "Steve, your job will be waiting when you get out. Don't do anything stupid and watch your back," Chris advised. After a final visit with the kids, I turned myself in. I began serving my time in the county facility. My brother put money in my inmate account, but most of the stuff for sale was junk. Without a cell phone or computer, I wrote down my thoughts on paper and called my brother, mom, and kids every 2 weeks to stay in the loop. During a visit, my brother said, "I'll have your car fixed by the time you get out. I found someone to do it for the insurance payout. I'm keeping up with your lawn and installed new locks." Kathy took the rest of her and the kids' things but left the furniture after I insisted on a court order for removal. I was grateful for my brother's support. Kathy let my parents see the kids every other Sunday but spoke poorly of me and my family. She called me their jailbird daddy and planned to set strict rules for when I got out. My parents put up with her to keep the lines of communication open. With 7 days left, I confirmed my visitation rights. Every other weekend, a full month in the summer, and split holidays. I told my boss I'd need a week to readjust after release. I was thrilled to trade my orange jumpsuit for street clothes. Gary was waiting outside. We headed straight to the nearest bar. "To freedom," I said, clinking bottles before downing the first of 3 beers. "Andy's got steak for dinner with all the trimmings. You can stay with us for a few days while you sort your stuff out at the house. It's still on the market. No offers yet. Kathy wants to lower the price, but she needs your approval." I smiled. "All the furniture is still there, but I torched the master bedroom set like you asked." Dinner was fantastic. I ate more than I had in the last 8 months, savoring the freedom to do what I wanted. I drank too much, vaguely remembering 5 or 6 beers and 3 glasses of wine. I woke up the next morning after 10 o'clock and finally got up and made it to the bathroom by 11:00. In the kitchen, I found a note on the counter. "If you're reading this, you survived last night. Coffee is made, everything else is in the fridge. There's soap, a razor, aftershave, a toothbrush, and paste in the guest bathroom. If you need anything else, we'll get it tonight. Your car and house keys are on the hook by the back door. Don't do anything stupid. See you around 5:30. My brother knew me well. 2 cups of coffee and an English muffin were all I could handle. After a shower and a shave, I felt almost human again. Gary had laid out fresh clothes, and within an hour, I was headed to my house. The outside looked the same. I sat in my repaired car for 10 minutes before going inside. Memories flooded back. I saw the new lock and, turning the key, stepped inside. It was a mess, things scattered everywhere. Pieces of clothing littered the floor. The kitchen was half clean, and the fridge still had old food in it. Leaning against the sink, I saw the marks on the wall where my fist had gone through the drywall and hit a stud. I rubbed my knuckles, remembering that night. Upstairs, the kids' closets were empty, except for a few forgotten trinkets. My bedroom was almost bare except for my dresser and clothes. Dark spots on the carpet showed where our bed and her dresser had been. The room needed a complete overhaul before I could use it. The whole house needed a deep clean to be sellable, but I was in no hurry. I made a list of repairs and decided I just wanted it done, not necessarily by me. At the bank, I confirmed she'd emptied the safe deposit box. I needed a written statement from the bank and was told they had videos as additional proof. My lawyer confirmed she'd taken everything and filed a motion for its return. The court had already ordered Kathy to return everything she'd taken from the box. "Steve, she's offering her share of the house in exchange for your share of the securities and bonds." Tell her to return everything as per the court order, or she'll face contempt charges. She can be as angry as she wants. My job is to protect your interests. That's what you hire a lawyer for, I thought. Back home, I took inventory of what I had left. I noted I needed to call a local contractor to fix the walls and Molly maids to clean the kitchen and dining room where I'd smashed the microwave and dishes. The utilities were still on, so I could move back in as soon as I bought a bed. I just needed a queen size, and I found a decent set for $900. At least I wouldn't be sleeping on a mattress my ex-wife had shared with someone else. Hank, the contractor, came by Saturday morning to give an estimate. "Walls are solid. Must have hurt when you hit that stud," he said with a smile. "Just need the holes patched and a fresh coat of white paint. Nothing fancy," I replied. "How about $200? "That's low. That's my price. Take it or leave it. You did us all a favor with Bob in the car. Most of the guys in the neighborhood respect you now. Randy even told Linda he'd bury her alive if she ever pulled what Kathy did on you. You're a neighborhood hero." I thanked him and told him to start whenever he wanted. Within 6 weeks, the securities and bonds were back in the bank's safe deposit box, and the house was repaired and cleaned. Life was starting to return to normal. When my kids spent their first weekend with me, it was awkward. I broke the ice. "Kids, I know this is weird, but this is still your home. Say whatever you want. I've got thicker skin now, and I don't think anything can shock me." "Dad, we love you, and we're sorry for what Mom did," John said. Heather nodded. "We didn't know about Bob until Mom said we were moving in with him. We weren't happy then, and we're still not happy. There was nothing you could do. Even without Bob, your mom and I wouldn't have gotten back together. What we had was over. I'm still your father, and I love you. I'll always be here for you." We hugged and spent the evening with pizza and a movie. I wanted to criticize their mother, but decided against it. Our first weekend was a success. We eventually felt like a family again, albeit a different one. I gave John a decent haircut and life moved on. I went to work, had a small social life, and spent time with the kids. John started football, and Heather started dance, which kept me busy. Everyone except my brother told me to move on and start over. "You're still young, you can find another girl, get married, and start a new life." To that, I just replied, "Forget it. I spent 14 years on that witch. If I want to stay angry, that's my right." They hadn't been through what I had in the last 2 years. Sometimes you need that pound of flesh for the pain to go away, and that's what I was going to get, one way or another. Kathy wanted to lower the house price. I refused. She was furious, but I didn't care. "Steve, it won't sell at this price in this market." We ended up splitting the bonds and securities. She spent hers on a new car and a vacation with Bob. I put mine in the bank as a financial cushion. 8.5 months after prison, a fire broke out at Bob's house while they were at a football game. Someone had doused the electrical panel in the back of the house with gasoline. The back half was destroyed, and they had no electricity. The next day, 2 police officers came to my work. They got nothing from me. I'd been at a neighborhood party with at least 10 witnesses. "Steve, you were only a block away. You could have done this," one officer accused. "Prove it," I replied. When I'd had enough, I stood up. "Charge me, release me, or I call my lawyer." "We're releasing you, but we'll be watching you." Mentally, I checked a box on my list. 1 down, 2 to go. I offered to take the kids since they couldn't stay in a house with no power. Repairs would take at least 2 months, so we had a mini vacation. "Steve, I know you did this, no matter what the police say," Kathy said, picking up the kids one evening. "I don't know what you're talking about. I was with our friends. Too bad you and Bob aren't invited anymore." "Maybe I can put in a good word for you," I offered sarcastically. "Don't bother. We wouldn't go even if they begged us," she replied, sounding hurt. "Well, you have each other, and that's all that matters now." "What's that supposed to mean?" she asked, her eyes wide. "Nothing. Just that you're lucky to have each other." I smiled. This time, not just internally. The kids wanted to spend more time with me, which neither Kathy nor Bob liked. I heard about loud arguments between Bob and the kids, where they told him he wasn't their father. Kathy told me to stop causing trouble. "Kathy, I'm not bad-mouthing you to the kids. You're their mother, and I told them they have to listen to you." What about Bob? Him. He's a mean idiot who's lucky to be alive. Otherwise, he's a nice enough guy. If looks could kill, I'd be dead. He's good to your children. Stop talking badly about him to them. That's not happening. He's nothing to me, and I pray to one day piss on his grave. She shot me a death glare. Not that I'd harm him, of course. Steve, what are you going to do? Kathy, cheat on me, divorce me, put me in jail, make my life hell? Oh wait, you already did all that. You can't do anything else to me. Go back to your husband and leave me alone. Without another word, she left. To think I once loved her. I watched her go, shaking my head. Work was going great. It only took a couple of weeks to get back into the swing of things. Chris soon pushed me to take on 4 more accounts. With no kids or anyone else at home, I had the time. After contacting the clients, I scheduled 2-day trips to each facility to get familiar with their operations. 3 accounts were easy, but TWW Incorporated was different. They were changing their manufacturing process, requiring monthly visits to keep up. The assigned guy was knowledgeable but disorganized and arrogant. When I pressed for the necessary data, Chris said, "If I don't get what we need, it'll mess up their system." After 2 calls, they assigned a liaison between the engineer and me. From then on, I dealt with Monica, who worked directly with the engineer. Steve, Monica Bradley, she introduced herself, shaking my hand. She had a degree in process engineering and had been with the company about 5 years. We worked well together, and she provided me with everything I needed. 2 weeks before the first phase wrapped up, I invited her to dinner. "Monica, I'd like to take you and your husband out to dinner as a thank you. The Hilton where I'm staying has a great restaurant. How about 6 Mile PM?" We shook hands, and I left the plant by 4:30, catching up on paperwork and emails. At 6:00, I headed to the restaurant. Monica arrived alone. "Where's your husband?" I asked, parking the car. "Steve, I'm not married." "Oh, sorry, I assumed," I said, noticing the rings on her hand. "I wear these for professionalism. No one hits on a married woman, avoiding harassment issues. Plus, married people seem to get promoted faster, probably because they seem more stable. How do you handle corporate events?" "I just say he's out of town or something. They stop asking." "Well, you had me fooled." We had a wonderful dinner, and by the end, I shared the highlights of the last 2 years. I was trying to rebuild, though revenge was still a priority. "You're probably right, but I haven't had the time or desire to date again. I'm still cautious. If I weren't married, would you still have asked me?" "I'll take that as a compliment," she said, laughing. I asked her to call me weekly, especially if anything came up. We went out almost every evening I was in town, which was every couple of weeks. I still had trust issues, but I was working on them. Phone calls and emails kept us connected. I was finally ready to take things to the next level. Was I becoming normal again? I wondered. When Monica said she had a conflict on Wednesday night, I didn't think much of it. "Steve, let's plan a whole evening for Thursday," she said, kissing me. On Wednesday, I looked for a new restaurant on the town map. I found a nice Indian place about 25 minutes away and decided to try it. I heard a familiar laugh and, to my surprise, saw Monica with another man. I lost my appetite, finished my beer, paid, and left. I avoided her on Thursday and went to McDonald's for lunch. "Yes, and tonight you're all mine." I found a quiet, cozy Indian restaurant with an amazing appetizer sampler. I looked her in the eyes. "What kind of food do they serve?" "Monica, I didn't even blink." I left and cut my trip short. After ignoring 4 emails, I didn't get any more. The trust issues were still there, and Monica had made them worse. 3 months later, I got an early Christmas present. Bob was hit by a car while crossing the street. Witnesses only saw a black 4-door sedan with tinted windows, which matched my black BMW. On Saturday night, the police came to my house. My neighbor Tom watched them approach. "Mr. Moore, we'd like to have a word," the shorter officer said. "Sure, no problem. Tom, I'll talk to you later," I said to my neighbor. "Mr. Moore, do you own a black BMW 320i?" the other officer asked. "Yes. What's this about?" I replied, jokingly suggesting a parking ticket, but they didn't laugh. "Is the car here?" "Yes, In the garage. What's going on? I asked. Sir, we'd like to inspect the vehicle, now. I opened the garage. One officer pulled out a camera and started photographing the front right side of my car. Can you explain these scratches and marks on the bumper? No idea. After 8 years, little chips and scratches are normal. Now that I've answered your questions, what's happening and why the interest in my car? Mr. Moore, there was a hit and run yesterday, and witnesses described a black sedan with dark windows similar to yours. Among a million others in the city, I replied irritably. Why me? Did the license plate match, or did someone ID me as the driver? Witnesses only saw the car. Well, as you can see, the front end has no significant damage. I can account for my whereabouts from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. yesterday. Why are you harassing me? Your history with the victim and past threats prompted this visit. Thank you for your cooperation. We're done here. Wait, I called out as they walked back to their car. Who was hit? Mr. Robert Kelly. I smiled. Is he dead? No, but he's in critical condition. They left, and I went inside, opened a bottle of wine, and ordered a pizza. I ate most of the pizza and drank the entire bottle in celebration. The neighborhood was buzzing with gossip about Bob. Some said, the guy just can't catch a break, while others declared, he got what he deserved. I was on cloud 9. 2 days later, Bob took a turn for the worse and died. I looked sharp in a new suit, a fresh haircut, and polished shoes. I even washed and waxed my car. The funeral home wasn't packed, but there was a crowd outside. When I arrived, conversation stopped. I didn't sign the book, just walked down the aisle. Kathy saw me and looked shocked. My kids smiled at me. Kathy tried to stop me before I reached the casket, but couldn't. From the moment I walked in, I was preparing. By the time I reached the casket, I had enough in my mouth. I looked at Bob lying there peacefully and spat in his face, enough to drip onto his shirt. Kathy screamed, crying and calling me every name in the book. This time I grinned openly. 2 down, 1 to go, I said to her. She froze, fear replacing her tears. I warned you, I said quietly, and walked out of the now silent funeral home. Over the next month, the police questioned me twice more at Kathy's insistence. The fact that it wasn't his car doesn't mean he wasn't involved, she claimed. They never caught the driver, and within a few months it was old news. When a patrol car pulled into my driveway, I was expecting it. I locked my house as neighbors watched me being taken to the station again. Mr. Moore, do you know David Kent? One detective asked, showing me a photo. Sure do, I replied. How do you know Mr. Kent? I hired him to watch my ex-wife. He's been doing it on and off for about a month. I pushed the photo back. Why did you hire Mr. Kent to watch your ex-wife? Ever since she got with her late husband, she seems to have bad luck. My kids live with her, so I hired David to ensure their safety. Mostly at night. Well, your ex-wife reported being stalked. She's seen Mr. Kent a few times and called us. When we picked him up, we found out you hired him, the detective said sarcastically. Mr. Moore, this borders on harassment, and you could be charged if it continues. I'm just watching out for my kids. I don't care what happens to my ex, but my kids are different. If it's a problem, I'll rely on your department for their safety. It's not illegal, but it's on the edge. Why don't you talk to your ex and work something out? Last time I tried that, I went to jail. They let me go, but warned they'd be watching me. They needed a better excuse. I wasn't paying David to be discreet. I wanted Kathy to see him. The next guy I hired was even more obvious, looking like someone out of a biker movie. He cost $30 an hour and worked 3 hours every 4th night. But he had the desired effect. I wanted to push my ex over the edge. If she had a breakdown, I'd get full custody of the kids. I wanted my family back. Steve, what the hell do you want? Kathy screamed into the phone, agitated. I want you to choke on your own spit and die, Kathy. She hung up immediately, shocked. I waited on my porch for the police to arrive. You're late, I said to the officers. Kathy accused me of making death threats, but I'd already contacted my lawyer, who was waiting at the station. My client did not threaten his ex-wife, my lawyer told the police. He expressed a wish, not a threat. She perceived it as a threat because she's still being followed by people your client hired. Watching someone isn't illegal. Unless you have a recording of Mr. Moore threatening to kill Mrs. Kelly, you have no case. Mr. Moore, why don't you move on? She left you, it happens. If she cracks and someone gets hurt, we're coming for you. Is there a way to stop this? I asked my lawyer. My client wants his children back. If Mrs. Kelly relinquishes custody, he'll back off. That's for the courts to decide. Then we're done here, my lawyer said, and we left. The following Sunday morning, while having breakfast and reading the paper on the patio, the doorbell rang. I opened the door to Kathy's parents. Steve, do you have a minute to talk? Sure, come on in, I said. They were dressed for church. Can I get you a cup of coffee? No, thank you. What brings you by? I asked. Kathy's father spoke. Steve, we know our daughter was wrong, especially with your jail time, but she's our only daughter, and we don't want anything to happen to her. Look, I'm not trying to hurt her. She made bad choices and is paying for them. I want my kids back. They'd be better off with me, especially with her streak of bad luck. I wouldn't want anything to happen to them if something happened to her. They stared at me, not knowing what to say. Steve, we'll talk to her, but you know how she is, Kathy's mother said, trying to ease the discomfort. That's where you're wrong. The woman I married would never have cheated and thrown me to the wolves. Now, I don't recognize her except as the mother of my children. I want her to suffer a horrible, painful death. I don't forgive, and I don't forget. They left quickly. I think I got my point across. On Thursday evening, the visitor I'd been expecting finally arrived. It was just after 7 p.m., getting dark. She must have walked because I didn't hear a car. She rang the bell. I looked through the peephole and let her in. She was already angry as she stepped through the door. I'd expected a call, but seeing her in person was better. Come in, Kathy. Want a drink? Hemlock on the rocks? I said, closing the door. Very funny. You're a real asshole. You know that? I opened the door. I think we're done here. Nice of you to stop by. Have a short, miserable life, I said, holding the door open. I'm not leaving until we talk, she replied, cautiously sitting in the living room. Suit yourself, I replied, closing the door and heading for a glass of wine. What brings you here? To my humble abode? I still own 50% of this house, she declared. Minus what I've paid since the divorce, I reminded her. I want to sell this place. What will it take to lower the price? She asked. An act of God. Are you prepared to cover the loss with interest? I countered. I just want you out of this neighborhood and away from me, she stated. That's never happening, I said firmly. Do you still hate me that much? She inquired. More than you can possibly imagine. It's awful how it turned out, but I didn't plan to get involved with Bob. It just happened, she explained. She couldn't think I was that stupid or naive. Bullshit, Kathy. Nothing just happens unless he held a gun to your head. You went willingly. Was he that much better in bed that you destroyed our marriage and family? My anger flared. It wasn't about sex. He needed me. He had no one. We fell in love because we needed each other, she defended. And what were you? A charity case? I needed you. Our children needed you. Our marriage needed you. But you chose your needy puppy over us. Now he's dead and a lot less needy, I countered, smiling, savoring the memory. Pity it wasn't me behind the wheel of the car that killed him. Steve, you've become so full of hate. Taking pleasure in someone else's misfortune is sick, she chastised. I'd like to say I did this to myself, but you and your lover played a big part. That's an excuse, Kathy. 60% of marriages fail. Not all ex-spouses grow to hate each other. I don't care about anyone else's marriage but my own. How long was I a fool? She asked. Does it matter? To me, yes. 2 months? 3? 5? She probed. About 5. 5 months. It just happened the first time, and I almost told you. I was desperate, she confessed, sounding rehearsed. But you didn't tell me, and you weren't that desperate because it continued. How many times did you fuck him in our bed? I demanded. Never! I wouldn't do that to you, she said angrily. So, it was okay to fuck him everywhere else. Plenty of our friends saw it but never told me. You've proven you can't be trusted, I countered. So where do we go from here? This house is our last tie, she said. What about the children? I'm not giving up on them. Nothing you say will change that, I asserted. My mind was racing. Kathy, I'm not going to persuade you. You got full custody because of what you drove me to. If I hadn't lost it with Bob in his car, I might have had a chance. Bob got what he deserved. Now it's just the two of us." Her eyes widened. "Steve, are you threatening me?" she asked me. "Deprive my children of their mother?" I said, oozing sarcasm. "Never. But if something were to happen, like a heart attack, a lightning strike, or an accident, I'll make sure the children always remember you fondly. If you have any last requests, you might want to write them down soon. You never know what might happen." I'd borrowed that line from a movie where a hitman advised his target to get his affairs in order. "I'm leaving," Kathy said, standing up. "We had 12 good years. I'm kind of sorry it ended this way." She tried to kiss my cheek, but I pushed her away, almost knocking her over. "Don't you ever touch me again," I warned. "You bitch." She was stunned. "I'm sorry. I just thought—" She started. "You thought what? That we're okay now?" "You make my skin crawl," I said, my eyes blazing with anger. "Sorry," she said, embarrassed and terrified. "Don't apologize." "Because I'm not," I countered. She walked out and down the driveway. "By the way, you know that look you just gave me? Bob had the same look right before he was hit by that car. Pity I didn't have a camera to show you," I added. I slammed the door, watching Kathy run toward her house. Truth be told, I was the one who set the fire at Bob's house. 2 Gatorade bottles filled with gasoline and a lit cigarette were all it took. I made sure everyone was out. I was hoping the fire wouldn't be reported until the house was fully involved. Didn't quite work out with that plan. From start to finish, including tossing the plastic Gatorade bottles in a neighbor's trash can, it took less than 5 minutes. I excused myself to use the bathroom, went out the side door, and cut through backyards to the rear of Bob's house. No one even missed me. I'd love to take credit for Bob's demise, but I can't. It was Bob being in the wrong place at the right time, or just dumb luck. If he'd looked both ways, like his mother probably told him to as a kid, he'd still be alive. No matter what I say, Kathy and her family still think I was involved. And in a way, I'm sorry it wasn't me, but I'd never do that. I'd already done time once and never wanted to go back, especially not to the prison up north. Anyway, by now Kathy was probably home, locking her doors, thinking she was next on my list. Was I going to go after her? Not a chance. I'd just hint and insinuate until she cracked, and the courts gave me my kids. I would, however, tell any potential home buyer about the unsolved arsonist in the neighborhood. You see, I like living right where I am, especially with my 2 children living right down the street. Who knows, when they turn 13, they might decide to live with their old dad. Well, I can hope. The only good thing that happened to me in all this time was meeting someone I think I could have a future with. Her name is Ellen, and she works for the State Department of Corrections. I had to check in with her during my first year of release to ensure I was adjusting, rehabilitating, and all that. Ellen is tough and doesn't tolerate bullshit. After dealing with the formalities, we started talking and found we might have feelings for each other. For ethical reasons, Ellen couldn't date me until my year of parole was up, but we finally went on a real date. I told her I had serious trust issues, and she replied that most convicts lie to her one way or another. So now we're both trying to move forward and deal with our trust issues together, getting to know each other better. Ellen made me think about what I'd been doing since my bitch of an ex-wife left me. She showed me that my actions were preventing me from having any real life and meaningful relationships. She told me it was time to move on. She convinced me even more when she said that if I screwed up and went back to prison, my ass would be hers to do with as she pleased. And, honey, I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy, she explained with a smile that made the hair on the back of my neck stand up. And you know what? I believe her. I really do. And when I'm with her, she keeps things interesting because, as tough as I think I am, Ellen is a lady I would never cross. Even better is knowing deep down that she'd never cross me either. I think I'm finally ready to move on with my life and open myself up to love again.